Okay, hi guys, welcome to Biology Online with Henny van Vuren. Hey, you 13s, I hope you're really well. Yeah, I hope you had a great weekend, but today we're going to start with revision of plant and animal responses. So, without further ado, we'll jump into the 2020 paper that they wrote last year, and we'll have a look at those questions together. So, here we go. Level 3 Biology 2020 demonstrate an understanding of responses of plants and animals to their external environment. So these little guys that you see over here, they are called bat-eared foxes, and they have these huge ears because they're really small actually, and consequently they're very vulnerable. You can almost think about it as the Chihuahua foxes. They eat mainly insects, but they use their hearing, number one, to find their prey, but also to listen for potential threats for them. Okay, let's try that again. My voice completely cracked. Anyways, in many animal species, there is some degree of parental care. In the case of the bat-eared fox, Otocyon megalotus, I imagine lotus is something to do with the ear, or is that a lotus flower? I don't know. The father, the dad, devotes a lot of its time to the young pups, at times playing, teaching, or guarding them, looking after them in general. The likelihood, I just want to quickly change this color, bang. So the likelihood of the pup's survival can be estimated by seeing how much time, likelihood of the pup's survival can be estimated by how much time the father spends with them. The father devotes time, okay? So all of these things we need to wonder, why are they telling us these things, okay? So keep that in mind. Behavior such as this is more often seen in species whereas there is a monogamous relationship. Okay, so a few points here. We need to say, what is the cost of the dad looking after the kids? Also, why does he do that? What is the advantage? What is the advantage? Then, monogamous. What does monogamous mean? It means that there's mono means one. Monogamous is one partner. Okay. Behavior such as this is more often seen in species where there is a monogamous relationship. Bat-eared foxes live in groups. Okay, they live in groups. Again, what does groups give us? What advantage would there be to groups? Groups give you protection because there's lots of numbers, lots of eyes and ears looking out. They are non-territorial, not aggressive to one another. In fact, there's a lot of allo grooming. Allo, what's your grooming? There's a lot of allo grooming going on. Can you guys remember what allo grooming is? So allo grooming is when we keep each other nice and neat. Okay, so think about the monkeys, the baboons constantly cleaning each other. This would be the same, where the foxes would clean each other. Grooming by close friends. Hello, would you like to groom? Anyways, the group size varies throughout the year, with the largest groups forming in the winter dry season. Now, again, we need to wonder about that, and that shows us that there is some kind of behavior, which is a timing response. This is when there is less food, and just before mating season begins. Just before mating season. Okay, so discuss how the behaviors outlined above can lead to success of the bat-eared fox groups. In your answer, you need to give a description of what is meant by terms monogamy and parental care. Explain an advantage and disadvantage of each of monogamy and parental care. A discussion of how behaviors mentioned above, can enable the group to be successful despite the potential negatives of this behavior. Okay, so let's just make that a little bit smaller. Alrighty. Okay, so let's go. Description of what is monogamy. So monogamy is only one partner. Okay. Um, Now, let's just, while we're talking about that, I mean, what is the advantage of that? So we're going to have advantage here, disadvantage. So the advantage is, once you choose one partner, you've chosen that partner, so there's not a lot of competition. Not a lot of competition. No aggression. Because we're not going to try and steal each other's partners. You can work together to raise the offspring. Because you're working together, you there's a higher chance, so better care for the offspring. Okay. Um, yeah. So, and one parent can look after the pups, and the other one can find food and bring it back. Um, think about penguins do that. Albatrosses do that. Okay, and they are all monogamous. So, better care for the pups, food gathering, sharing the load. Okay. Whereas if you think about something where the male and the female actually don't even live together, and the female then is the only one that looks after them, that male will have many offspring in many, many different places. So all the responsibility is on the mom. Or you can even think about some reptiles where they just produce hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of eggs, and they don't care for the offspring. The offspring is on their own from the beginning. Okay, so that's monogamy. Tick. And then parent. Oh, we didn't do disadvantages of monogamy. Okay, some disadvantages of monogamy. Um, if there's going to be fewer partners, then you have a lower genetic diversity. Another disadvantage is also you have to have the same partner, and which again feeds back to the lowering in genetic diversity and so forth. Or if your partner dies, then most of the others will be already in a partnership. And then next season is a different story again, where they will find a new partner. Okay, so then we go on to parental care. So parental care, okay, it is where the parents care for their offspring. It's usually um, a smaller number of offspring. When you think about it, a sea turtle lays a lot of eggs, and she doesn't care for them at all, and she just hopes that her offspring will survive to basically pass her genetic material on. The dad is not involved at all, whereas in animals where they care for their young, remember that the robin example that we had where they had clutches of eggs that were too big, and then the babies weren't cared for good enough, so more of them died. And then you had robin clutches that was too small, and then if one or two dies, the impact of on that generation is huge. So consequently, there was a um, normalizing selection pressure to have between 3 and 4 eggs per clutch. Now, you usually will see that with animals. If you have lots of little animals being born by, let's say, your kitten has a lot of, or your cat has a lot of kittens, normally she can't look after all of them. So it will be a smaller number because then the babies will have better care. Because the babies have better care, they will most likely survive, and the chances of passing on their genetic material is better. Okay, so advantages. a higher percentage pup survival. Okay, so what the pup survival means, DNA passed on. Okay, and 2 more generations. Okay, parental care provides protection for the children, caring for the children, also learning and teaching, and that happens through play and so forth. Okay, and teaching them how to hunt. If you think about a cheetah, most likely the female will have, the male is not involved, and the female will have usually um, two cubs that she will raise for, and I think they stay with her for, I want to say, up to 2 years. But she teaches them how to hunt and all of that. So they're learning from their parents, and all of that is an increased survival. So, what are the disadvantages? So, when we think about disadvantages about this, the disadvantage is going to be for the parents. It takes a lot of energy where they're not looking after themselves; they're looking after the kids. Um, they Because it's fewer kids, it might mean that fewer DNA is being passed on, that type of thing. Um, it is time intensive, and so forth. Okay, let's go back to the question. So if we go back to the question over here, you can see that we've covered off parental care, some advantages and disadvantages of them. And now, discussion of all the different behaviors mentioned above that can enable the groups to survive. The groups to be able to survive despite the potential negatives of this behavior. So, when they live in groups, we talked about the advantages of groups. So, they are non territorial. So, let's just write these words down here. So, groups, non territorial. Also, non aggression. Is that 2 G's or one? I don't know. Okay, yeah, it is 2 G's. Okay, non-territorial, non-aggression, allo-grooming. Okay, and the sizes vary throughout the year, with the largest groups forming in the winter dry season. Okay, when there is less food and just before mating seasons begin. Now, so let's think about that. Largest is in winter before mating. Okay, now let's look at them individually. I need to add a G in there. So, groups. What do groups give you an advantage of? Okay, so groups are going to basically give you protection. What the heck? Okay, groups are going to give you protection because there's lots of eyes and ears. Also, if somebody finds food, then it's a way for everybody to share because they love their termites and so forth. So, food gathering is shared. So that protection is from predators, and also vigilance. Because if you're in a big group and a predator comes and wants to eat one of you, he's not going to eat 100 of you. Okay, and that's why you find the antelope in herds as well. So you're going to potentially lose one, but the rest will survive. Okay, so there's power in numbers. But vigilance also means that there's lots of ears and eyes looking out for the different predators. Okay, finding food. If they find a good food source, obviously it's shared, and so forth. They are non-territorial, which means if we're non-territorial, we share and we don't have to um, spend energy protecting it. However, it does mean that if you do find, one of the disadvantages is that if you do find food, you have to share it. You can't just keep it all for yourself. So, but working together to find the food would be an advantage again. Okay, non-aggression is so you don't have to do aggressive displays. So decrease in energy for aggression. You don't have to do that. Now, while we're talking about monogamy, another thing is you don't have to spend as much time trying to impress the girl once you have her. In other words, if you think about a peacock with his humongous tail, they are not monogamous. Okay, um, so that's an advantage which I can't really fill in here because it's not going to fit. But decrease energy for courtship, because once you have courted her, you have courted her for the whole season. Okay, decrease also fewer injuries because of the aggression, less fighting, and so on. Okay, allo grooming is, remember, they're grooming each other. So sorry, allo grooming each other. Okay, and this increases the bonds between them. Also keeps them clean. Clean and healthy. Okay, it will also re-emphasize some of the, if you have hierarchies and so forth, so strengthen hierarchy. And when we think about hierarchies, we can actually say that that is one of the disadvantages potentially of in a group. So we'll put it down here as a disadvantage is hierarchy. Also another one is if you're a lot, you're easily spotted. So you're not as well camouflaged, easily spotted by predators and so forth. So you see, again, there's no watertight answer to this question. We're just going through the ideas in our head, and then we'll be writing all of it. Okay. Yeah, that's allo grooming. Then, why is the group the largest before winter? Now, the reason for that is it's going to increase your choice and increase genetic variation. Also, it is when they said specifically when the food is at its lowest, so cooperative food gathering. Um, Maybe when the vegetation is less dense because it's winter, adds better protection. So this is an annual behavior. Okay, and what is a zeitgeist for that might be things like temperature, day length or night length, and so forth. Okay, let's have a look at the model answer. So, there are many behaviors that the fox has that ensures success for the pack. So, over here, monogamy means staying with one partner, normally for more than one breeding season. There is less time spent courting, so more time for more time or energy for mating and raising offspring. Time is spent together raising the offspring rather than just one of the parents. Long-term monogamy, however, can reduce access to other partners and in turn reduce genetic diversity. So long-term monogamy can reduce genetic diversity. Parental care can offer teaching, protection, feeding of the young, bringing the young safely to an age that they can fend for themselves. By having fewer offspring, the parent can focus all of their protection, learning, and feeding on fewer individuals. They will also have more time and energy for this, as there would be not as many young to be taken care of. That takes the effort. Although parents care, although parental care does take time away from adult caring for themselves, feeding themselves, the risk of the young attracting predators, etc., it does mean that it is more likely a chance that the adults will leave more offspring over a lifetime, more DNA. That's the so what. If no parental care, If there was no parental care, the young would not be able to gather enough food and protect themselves, therefore less DNA staying behind. Now, allo grooming increases bonding in the group, making the group stronger and less likely to have aggression. And aggression can cause injury. By having a larger group in pre-mating season, foxes are protected, so it provides protection while mating. Oh, so while they're mating, they are protected, and there's also more genetic diversity to mate with. Being non-territorial means that the adults do not waste energy or the risk being injured or defending their territory. Is there another page to this? No. Okay, so let's look at the achieved merit and excellence points here. So firstly, you studied your definitions. So you defined monogamy. Well done, you haven't achieved. You describe an advantage of a monogamous relationship. In other words, just one. So in other words, no time wasted on courtship. Bang, we did that. Describe a disadvantage of monogamy. In other words, to reduce access to other partners or reduce genetic variation. We did that. We got 2 at the end. Defined parental care as protection or support for the young. All of this is general knowledge, and just like that, you've got an A plus already. Describes an advantage of parental care, such as food provided to reach adulthood, teaching skills, and so forth. So can you see this one is what it is, and this one is what they do. And describe a disadvantage of parental care. So in other words, parents have less time. We did all of that. Easy, easy, easy. Now, for merit, explain an advantage and a disadvantage of parental care. We actually did that, so we got a merit. Explain an advantage and a disadvantage of a monogamous relationship. We did that. So you can't just say monogamous relationship. You need to explain what the advantage is and what it actually provides the individual. Okay. Then your third M that you could get. Explain the benefit of allo grooming. Yep. Or explain the advantages of minimal offspring. It's interesting that this is in the answer sheet because nowhere did they mention they have minimal offspring. Or explain an advantage of being non-territorial. Yep. And explain an advantage of group behavior. Yep. And then for excellence, a comprehensive answer of how and why the explained behavior can together lead to the success of the fox packs, including examples of monogamy, grooming, parental care, minimal offspring, and non-territorial and group behavior. Bang. A comprehensive answer of how the explained behaviors can together lead to the success of the fox packs. Despite the potential negatives of behavior with multiple behaviors of the group discussed that lead to success of the pack, the positives of the behaviors must outweigh the negatives in order for them to continue. Otherwise, they simply won't go on. Okay, so that was question 1. I'm going to stop the video there because it's becoming long. Thank you for working through this. In the next lesson, we'll look at question 2. Have a great day. Bye.